been 6 years since Deadpool has been on the big screen, and a lot of things have changed in the MCU. Thanos finger banged half the universe, Spider-Man had a threesome, Scarlet Witch committed war crimes, like a lot of war crimes, and Captain America ended racism, but not really. Personally, I feel like the MCU has been on decline since Endgame. I know, what a hot take, Socks, what a freaking hot take. But I'm not saying that the recent MCU movie have been just complete trash or the MCU is cooked or whatever. It's more so, I feel like the last few movies have been disappointing. Besides some outliers like No Way Home and Guardians Volume 3, the last few MCU movies suffered from messy writing, underwhelming villains, and whatever the Marvels was. Overall, it felt like the movies have been made by a corporate machine rather than genuine filmmakers. Not to discredit anyone who worked on the recent Marvel movies, but the passion and care between like No Way Home and the Marvels is a stark contrast in my personal opinion. So I was genuinely excited to have Ryan Reynolds a part of the MCU as he cares so much about the Deadpool franchise. Since the first trailer dropped, the talk of the town has been Deadpool and Wolverine was going to save the MCU. I mean, hell, the movie pitched itself as the Marvel Messiah that was going to bring back the glory days. But here's the thing, Deadpool and Wolverine doesn't save the MCU, nor does it need to. If anything, Deadpool and the Greatest Showman is a love letter to 21st Century Fox and its history. This is my first reaction / review for a movie on this channel, so if you guys are enjoying my mad ramblings, please leave a like and comment on what other movies you want to see get my opinions on. Also, there will be spoilers in this video, but it'll be towards the end and I'll give you guys like a big warning. It's mainly for the cameos and such, but if you really want to just know the spoilers, just hit the time code right here. Without further ado, let's fucking go with the review for Deadpool and Wolverine. The best way to describe the visuals of this movie is like a sandbox. Quite literally, as most of the movie takes place in the void, a desolate place at the end of time where forgotten things are discarded. Not so much the Island of Misfit Toys vibes, more Mad Max vibes. However, as cool as that sounds, the movie isn't winning any awards for cinematography anytime soon, as many of the locations are pretty bland. The settings include a desert, a cornfield, and inside the hulking corpse of Ant-Man. Okay, that last one's pretty cool. This lack of exciting location might be due to how Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds like to keep production costs low. Where did the majority of the $200 million budget go to? To the fucking fight scenes, of course. Remember when I said the visuals were like a sandbox? Well, this sandbox is full of toys as the characters interact in the most violent way with each other, which distracts you from the lackluster backdrops. Sure, seeing the crumbling 21st Century Fox logo is cool and all, but watching Deadpool and Wolverine tear each other apart is even cooler. The fights between the title characters are where the action truly shines, as they hold nothing back. And why should they, when they have two characters who literally cannot die and have an affinity for bladed weapons? The movie constantly had me wincing at its level of brutality that could give Mortal Kombat a run for its money. Dicks get chopped off, brains get blown out, skin literally gets peeled from bodies. Oh boy, this shit gets fucking wild. And it's not just for our main characters. The supporting characters have amazing fight scenes as well. A standout is the movie's villain, Cassandra Nova, who literally mindfucks people. And I'm not talking about Chris Angel shit. Her visuals are horrifying. Though the settings are bland as British food, the movie makes up for widely entertaining fight scenes and a delightful Easter eggs from the Fox era, proving that sometimes it's not how big the tool is, but how you use it that makes the difference. I don't know about you guys, but I had some serious concerns about the writing for Deadpool would turn out under Disney's watchful eye. And even though the movie was rated R, I was curious about which aspects of the humor might be toned down. To my pleasant surprise, nothing was off the table. In fact, the film might be one of the most foul-mouthed movies I've ever seen, competing for the record for the most F-bombs dropped in a single movie. That said, I did notice a large reduction in sexual humor compared to the first two movies. And honestly, I don't mind. It allowed the writers to craft wittier jokes. Some of the funniest moments were the snarky remarks Deadpool made under his breath, which had the entire theater in stitches. One of the standout lines was when Deadpool comments on Paul Rudd finally aging as he stares at a gigantic Ant-Man corpse. While the jokes were consistently on point, the plot and pacing had a few misses. I've always appreciated how Ryan Reynolds brings a touch of wholesomeness to Deadpool. His quest to save the people who matter most to him was genuinely touching and added emotional depth to the film's chaotic antics. Without spoiling anything, the film sets up Logan's backstory as deeply tragic, pushing him to the fringes of society. However, the third act flashback reveal left me somewhat underwhelmed. Maybe the over-the-top dick slicing desensitized me, or perhaps the story just felt a bit rushed. I'll let you decide. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman were born to play Deadpool and Wolverine. For many fans, they are the definitive version of these characters, and it's clear to see the maximum effort they put into their performances. This isn't surprising given how long they've been portraying these characters in these roles. The standout performances, however, belong to Emma Corrin and Matthew McFadden, who played the movie's villains. Even though their characters' motives were fairly one-dimensional and honestly kind of didn't really make sense, their acting stole the show. Emma brought a disturbingly cheerful attitude to one of the MCU's most terrifying villains, while Matthew made middle management surprisingly entertaining with a very animated performance. The writing of Deadpool and Wolverine brings much of the same chaotic fun as the previous films. It's not a watch for the plot type movie, but the story is serviceable, but the great casting and performance elevate it to the next level. I'm glad nothing got nerfed in terms of humor because this movie had me laughing ear to ear. Music. This is where the other half of the budget went, as the movie soundtrack is packed with certified bops. I've always loved how Deadpool movies use their soundtracks for jokes, especially in the opening credit sequences. We all remember how iconic the Deadpool 1 movie intro was with Shoot by Salt and Pepper playing. I'd say this movie's intro is just as iconic, if not more iconic than the first one, featuring Deadpool's choreography to Bye 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 by NSYNC, while casually causing mayhem. The best soundtrack in order would be Deadpool 1, then Deadpool 3, with Deadpool 2 being the weakest. Alright folks, it's time to jump into the deep end of Spoilerville. If you haven't seen this movie, this is your cue to skedaddle, to scram, or just skip ahead. You do you, boo. I'm just saying, you've been warned. Now let's dive in. Remember when I said this movie's like a sandbox filled with toys? Well, some of those toys are vintage classics and others are rare collectibles. The theater erupted with laughter when Chris Evans pulls the ultimate bait and switch as Captain America. His acting was so spot on. I didn't even think of him as Cap. I recently rewatched the 2005 Fantastic Four movie, and Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, is such a hilarious jerk in that one. Seeing him carrying the same vibe into this movie was a riot. This is where Deadpool and Wolverine really showed their appreciation for their Fox roots, as they allowed these like legacy characters to almost have a official conclusion. The cameos were a love letter to some classic Fox-produced superhero films, like Juggernaut, Elektra, and freaking Blade. I was geeking out in the theater and pointing at the screen like a kid at a candy store, while my wife sat there blissfully unaware who these characters were, but was excited because I was. It's that nerdy joy that makes going to the theater surrounded by other nerds just feel so special. The biggest shocker for me is Channing Tatum as Gambit. I completely forgot there was supposed to be a solo Gambit movie in 2014. It was amazing to see what Channing Tatum's take on Gambit was, and honestly, I really want a Gambit movie. Channing Tatum killed it. They constantly made fun of his like goofy ass outfit, kind of terrible Cajun accent, but honestly, Channing rolled with the punches, and now we need one. It needs to happen. If you unfortunately watched the final trailer for this movie, my condolences, because the Laura Kinney X-23 reveal was a huge surprise in the theaters. Nowadays, I just avoid trailers like the plague, except for like teasers, so I'm glad I did for this movie. One of the most emotional scenes in the movie was the heart-to-heart between Laura and Logan. Sure, it doesn't make entirely sense given the timeline, like how the Logan movie happened already and Deadpool's aware of it, but Laura Kinney's from the same universe as Deadpool, but his universe isn't pruned, but Laura is in the void because the TVA got to her. It doesn't make any sense, and I don't think they really cared to make it make sense. It just carries a lot of emotional weight. Just don't overthink about it, let's just move on. Then we had the Deadpool Cork showing up. While cool, felt a bit underused. They only popped up for the final battle, and while it was epic, it just felt like they were just there for spectacle. Wolverine and Deadpool go on a rampage, taking out all the Deadpools, and then they just regen and disappear. For a movie that's supposed to be about making a difference, this scene was a flash and no substance. Not that I'm complaining too much, I love a good spectacle as much as the next fan, but it could have been a little bit more impactful in my opinion. In the end, this movie is a fan service cranked up to 11. For folks like my wife who aren't steep in the X-Men lore or familiar with Blade and Daredevil, these scenes might not hit as hard, but for us diehard fans, seeing these classic characters back in the big screen is like a warm, fuzzy nostalgia blanket. In conclusion, the film serves as a heartfelt love letter to the classic Fox superhero movies, celebrating the rich history that gave us iconic characters like Deadpool and Wolverine. Rather than just trying to save the MCU, it honors the unique style and irreverence of these fan favorites. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman bring their A-game, delivering performances full of nostalgia and passion, reminding us why we fell in love with these characters in the first place. While the cinematography might not be groundbreaking, the film's brutal and widely entertaining fight scenes more than make up for it, capturing the chaotic fun that defined the Fox era. Ultimately, it's a enjoyable tribute to the fans and an unforgettable legacy of these legendary heroes. Overall, I give Deadpool Wolverine an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching this video. If you haven't seen this movie yet, please go watch it. It's truly a good time. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments if you guys want to see more videos like this. Until next time, fair winds and smooth travels.
Your lies are over, Beck.